Hi, I'm Javaune Simpson and welcome back to Speak Up. Now for today's episode, I gave persons the opportunity to ask some questions. And these questions, I offered to answer these questions. Now, they're a bit interesting questions, so I'll try to answer them as best as possible and as honestly as possible. So, to get started, the first question is, which parish are you from? Now, I'm from Kingston originally, but I like to think of myself as somebody who's from St. Anne as well. And that's basically because most of my family is from St. Anne. And so I, consider myself to be somebody that's from St. Anne. But, I'm mostly from Kingston. So I would usually just say Kingston and St. Anne. Mostly Kingston. Alright? Question 2. Now this person has been featured on Speak Up before. And so by saying that, you guys already might know who this is because it is the first person that has actually been featured on Speak Up. And he asked this question, you're not married? Which is to be translated to, aren't you getting married? For those who don't speak Patois, right? Yeah. So, it's an interesting question. And I figured he asked this question just to get me to laugh or something. Yeah, but, as it pertains to marriage, for me personally, those persons that know me personally, and I know he already knows the answer, but I'm just going to go ahead and answer. So, for me, I do embrace marriage. I do see marriage as something that should be, indulged in. I do see marriage as something that should be upheld. I do see marriage as something that's honorable, as the Bible classifies it as. But I honestly haven't been in a relationship for a good while, and so throughout this period of my life, I guess I've just, settled with the mindset that, hey, what if it is that you aren't meant to get married? Like, persons that know me know that I'm a bit, persons classify me as a bit picky. And I don't like to say that I'm actually picky. I just think that it's a matter of knowing what it is that you want and knowing that you don't want to compromise too much. I don't have a problem with compromising. Hear me and hear me well. I don't have a problem with compromising. I find myself compromising a lot at times. And if I find it to be, something that's warranted for me to compromise on, then I'll surely compromise on it, because I know that for the person that they'll be required to compromise on things as well. Because I'm that much of a different individual. I do things differently, I think differently, I speak differently. So I expect other persons to have compromises when it comes down to me. So I have to be, respectful enough to also offer them that compromise as well. But I just don't want to compromise too much. And so based on what I've been seeing thus far, I see that, I just really and truly just haven't really, I haven't been in a relationship, and so I can't even really speak to it. But since recently, I have been, well, not recently, but like perhaps months ago, I was thinking about it, and I was like, this marriage thing isn't for me. So, but honestly, I do feel as if perhaps sometime in the future I will be getting married. I don't know to whom, That's up to God. I really don't know. But, in the event I don't, I want to be able to say that I'm happy. At the same time, I don't want to be reliant on marriage itself. I want to be able to, be happy. And, just being by myself. Just being with the good Lord, being with my family, my mother, my friends. And just embracing life as best as possible. So let's move on. Question 3. Have you preached at church before? Yes, I have. I have preached at church before. I started out doing, short exaltations. And I remember doing my first exhortation a bit after getting filled with the Holy Spirit. And in doing so, I actually spoke about faith itself, because faith was something that I had to get familiar with in order to be filled with the Holy Spirit. I had to just trust God and just rely on Him like completely, or as much as possible. And so it was something that I was a bit familiar with, and that's where I actually got familiar with my favorite scripture. And it's 2 Timothy chapter 4 verse 7. I have fought a good fight, I have finished my course, I've kept the faith. Yes, I believe I'm correct. If anybody wants to check and correct me if I'm not correct, then you can go ahead and leave that in the comment section. So to move on, question 4. Where do you see yourself in 5 years time? Where do I see myself in 5 years time? Well, it's something that I've thought about, and I mean 5 years is like, it's not that far, believe you me. Because not too long ago I was like 20. Now I'm 25. Oh my gosh. Yeah, where do I see myself in 5 years? I'm hoping to God that I would have, completed my master's by then in the field of psychology. I would have, broken completely out of my shell and embraced my purpose, or my purposes rather, and motivating, inspiring persons, and doing a whole lot more speak up. I want speak up to be that thing that a whole lot of persons are tuned into, and not just for the popularity or for the fame or anything like that. I mean, it's more so to help persons to understand their struggles as individuals, to be able to speak about the things that they're actually going through as individuals, as Christians, as non-Christians, just to embrace and just to show love and just to show that genuineness towards each other. So that's my aim, and yeah, that's my aim for Speak Up. So I want a lot of things to be going, well. I mean, things won't be going perfect, but if it is that God tarries and He doesn't come by 5 years time, then yeah, I'm hoping to be doing a whole lot of great things. Who knows? Might be married by that time. I don't know. Who knows? Moving on. Question 5. What's one question people always ask you as it relates to your Christianity? Interesting question. So one of the things they usually ask is, how has the Christian journey been for me? And that's something that I've taken on to myself as well. I ask persons that a lot when I meet new Christians as well. So yeah, they ask, how has the Christian journey been for you? And quite often I would say, it has been great. However, there has been ups and there has been a lot of downs as well. But it's just a matter of getting up and trying to do as best as possible the next time around, regarding whatever it is that I fell down on or fell down for. Yeah. Yeah, so to move on, I hope I'm answering the questions correctly. So question 6. How do you know when you are on the right track? Now, honestly, given that I'm a Christian, I would have to say that, trying to communicate with God as much as possible, trying to ask God to just, confirm, or just to let it be that He does something to actually point out to you whether or not you're actually doing the right thing. So I don't know if you mean in terms of a relationship or in terms of just life in general, but I would suggest that you get connected with the source Himself, because He's the only one that can actually tell you whether or not you're actually doing things correctly or doing it incorrectly, because He knows your purpose. He knows the reason why He actually made you, what you should be doing by the time you reach 25. He knows the pathway He has already made for you. Sometimes we go off course, and I have to say that going off course it's okay at times. We do mess up as individuals, we do mess up as human beings at times. Sorry, but what we have to do is just pick ourselves up, or if it is that we're unable to pick ourselves up, then ask the King himself to pick us up. And I know that he's willing and able to do so. Aren't you? He's willing and able to do so. I know that. Yeah. So as to knowing whether or not you're on the right track, yeah, you just have to trust God. And also just trust him in terms of knowing what his will is for you. And so at times you might hear persons on the outside say, hey, you're not doing the right thing. But I guess that's why it's so important to have that connection with God, so you can actually know that you're actually doing the right thing. So let's say, for example, persons might say, hey, why in the world are you doing Speak Up, Javaune? Shouldn't you be doing something else, like something else worth your time, really, perhaps? But for me personally, I know where my passion lies, and I know what my purpose is really, or I at least know what a few of my purposes are thus far. I'm convinced what a few of my purposes are thus far, and so I'm embracing this journey. I'm embracing this task, this thing that I happen to love so much. I feel comfortable doing it, and so I will continue to do it as best as possible, as God gives me health and strength. Yeah, I hope I'm answering the questions correctly. As I mentioned before, question 7: what's your ideal woman like? Oh, ideal woman. Well, honestly, alright, so it says what's my ideal woman like, right? So I'll just be honest with you guys. Firstly, it's not that I'm saying that looks are the most important thing or anything like that, but I do love when a female is confident in how she looks, and when she is confident as it pertains to how she looks. It doesn't mean that she's boastful. She doesn't mean that she's hyped up about how she looks. She doesn't mean that she tries to make herself the center of attention in any way. It's just a matter of her knowing what she stands for, or knowing what she's all about. And so I find that attractive. I love natural hair. I love when a female doesn't see it necessary, doesn't rely on things that can be added to the body or anything like that. I don't like makeup. I don't even like lipstick really. But I think lip gloss is cool. Certain things are cool, but I just don't like hair extensions. I don't like makeup. That's just me, honestly. I've had persons that frowned upon me because of that, but it's just me. I'm just embracing what it is that I like. And persons tend to think that it's because I'm a Christian or because I'm a part of the apostolic faith why it is that I'm embracing things like that, but it's really and truly not. It's not the case. I actually loved natural hair from probably from primary school coming up to high school. So that was like way before I became a Christian, or I became a member of the apostolic faith, really. Yeah, so I love honesty. I see honesty being a big thing for me. I love when somebody can communicate with me and tell me how it is that she actually feels. Don't leave me to be wondering how you feel, or wondering if it is that you're okay. I don't like those things. I find that sometimes females tend to behave as if a man is supposed to know what it is that they want, what it is that they like, just like that, without them even telling them. If it is that you've been talking for years, then yeah, fine, sure, the guy is supposed to know, at least 80% of the things that you love, or that you respect, or things that you will take on to. But don't expect me as an individual to always know these things. If it is that we just met, or we're getting to know each other. So yeah, and I like a female that is respectful, and is able to trust me, and is able to allow me to treat her well. And if it is that you don't like how I treat you, then yeah, sure, I mean, we can have a discussion about that, or you can make your independent decision to do whatever it is that you feel is necessary. But I would like the opportunity to treat you well firstly, and then we can decide whether or not it is that you like the treatment or you don't like the treatment. And I'd like to think of myself as a gentleman, as I've been told a lot of times. Not that I want to be boastful or anything like that, but I think that I am. I've been grown by a lot of females. Question 8. Can you sing? Oh my gosh. Yes, I have to embrace it. Once upon a time, I wouldn't usually tell persons this, but yes, I can sing. Not as as operas or perhaps like a Dalton Harris, not like a Dalton Harris or anything like that, or like a Michael Jackson, but within my own self, I can sing. Yeah, sure. Yeah. So question 9. What are some of your pet peeves? Pet peeves. Oh my gosh. I wouldn't say there's a lot, even though I believe some things really get me annoyed. But I won't say there is a lot. However, I mentioned that I love honesty, and so for somebody to be dishonest, that's something that I can't deal with at all. For me, not being able to trust you, then that's a big issue. So just, if you're a friend of mine, if you want to maintain a relationship with me of any sort, just be honest with me at all times, or as best as possible. Other pet peeves, oh my gosh, what are they? I really can't think of any more right now, but I guess they'll come out in future videos. Yeah, they'll probably come out in future videos. Trust me, they will. Question 10. How do I as a teenager maintain my spiritual walk with the Lord despite all the things of the world? In brackets, temptation to sin, peer pressure, etc. Now this is a great question. I must commend the person for asking this question, Yeah. I believe, as I mentioned before, when I was asked question 6, how do you know when you are on the right track? I would suggest a similar answer. Connect with the source, with God. I know the Christian journey isn't easy, especially for young people, and I'm like, yeah, testament to that. Like, I know it isn't easy, especially as it comes on to things such as sex, masturbation, drinking, all of these things, and all these things are sinful things that constantly plaguing us as individuals, as young people. Peer pressure. We have friends around us, or persons that we think are friends, and so they pressure us into doing things that we really don't want to do. But at the end of the day, we must embrace what it is that we want. As Christians, we must embrace God, and so to embrace God, we have to try and embrace His word and what it is that He wants for us. As it pertains to people that we have around us that pressure us as individuals, as young people, I believe that we have to stand up for what it is that we believe in. Even as it pertains to college, and me and Andrew Peter, we did a video recently, and you check right there in the description. I'll leave the link to it as well. We did a video as it pertains to 10 things to expect in college. And so this is one of the things that you have to expect. You have to expect the peer pressure. You have to expect persons going against what it is that you believe in. And I'm not only talking to persons of the apostolic faith. I'm talking to persons who are Christians in general. If it is that you are grown on positive morals, and having positive morals is something that's not only unique to the apostolic movement or to Christianity per se. You have Rastafarians who are very much conscious, and so they live conscious lives. And as much as I would want to lead a person to Christ, I still have to respect their decision as individuals, as human beings. And so if it is that you decided to go a different way, then I cannot push you or force you into doing something that you honestly don't want to do until you get the conviction to do it. So all I can do for you is pray for you and continue to be a great friend to you, or at least try to be a great friend to you. And so in all of this, I guess you will then see what it is that you actually want and go after it as best as possible. But just keep in mind that you should not allow persons to lead you astray. So even if it is that you didn't grow up as a Christian, but you know that your mother or your father or your aunt or your grandmother or whoever it might be that was in the house that tried to grow you up on sound morals, and the strong morals, really, you have to try and embrace those morals, and don't be transformed by the world, or don't be transformed by the things you might see in college or the things in which you might be exposed to in college, because quite often persons enter college and their image transforms dramatically. And I'm not trying to say that you should go through college and not be transformed at all. We ought to be transformed because it's actually a process of growth, and so transformation is something that's expected, or growth is expected. But it's how you transform, it's how you grow, it's the things that you actually cling on to, or the persons that you cling onto, or hang around with. You have to be mindful of these things. You cannot allow persons to lead you astray. I've seen persons change totally. Persons entering college as Christians and exiting as Rastafarians. I've seen persons enter college as Christians and exit as I don't even know. I don't even know what they consider themselves to be. But, well, then again, they consider themselves to be just embracing life. And so they believe in this you only live once thing, and so they live according to that thing. Now, if you know me and if you know your Bible, then you know that this YOLO thing isn't the truth. You don't only live once. There's a promised land for you. And so if it is that you live accordingly to that promise, then you will live differently as well. So you have to embrace what it is that you believe in, and you have to stand up for what it is that you believe in. Do not be afraid to stand up. Do not be afraid to speak out. Do not be afraid to speak up. Alright? So yeah, that has been the question and answers segment. 10 questions have been answered. And even though I think that I should have done a whole lot more on the pet peeves part, I just didn't want to, sit here and think about it too long before I actually, finish the video. And so, yeah, I guess I'll just have to mention those things in future videos. Hopefully I remember, or hopefully the person, I bet the person will actually be on me to answer those questions. So yeah, I figure I will answer them. So this has been Speak Up. I'm Javaune Simpson, and thank you a lot for watching. I hope you learned a lot. I guess most of these questions were actually about me, I guess. But yeah, I guess you would have learned a lot about me, because I honestly answered these questions as honestly as possible. So yeah, that's it for now. Remember to subscribe. Remember to leave a comment if it is that you want to leave a comment. If it is that you have questions that you want to be answered for a future question and answers segment, then you can do so. And just keep safe. Stay blessed. Much love.